welcome to our studio here at the Mentor Project. We are very excited today because we have a live audience. And so you might hear some applause if I do a really good job, or you might hear some, wow, that was pretty impressive. So this is Marilyn Price speaking to you in behalf of the Mentor Project. And I would like to thank everybody who is listening and watching. And if you're just listening on the podcast, that's cool. And then you can watch to see what we do as we go along. Today we have an original story written by a collaborative effort. That means two people. And it is actually based on an old folk tale told by this old folk. And as you can see in my studio, the sun is shining. And I hope it's shining in your space too. So this is what we put together. But first, a puppet idea for you to tell the story as well. Now, this is what is called a fancy wooden spoon. But if it is in someone's kitchen and it doesn't belong to you, no. If it belongs to you and it is maybe even has a memory or two, even better to make a story. So our story today is told with two spoons. No, excuse me, a spoon and a fork. But in case you are having a lot of carry-out lately, you might have some of this. And maybe you throw them out, or maybe you recycle. Thumbs up on recycling, excellent. But maybe you'd like to make a puppet and tell a story. So this is what I ask all of you to think about. What is that? Did you say a fork? Excellent. So you take a fork and you say, what could this be?
A crown.
A crown. It's a crown. Excellent. So we're going to make it into a king or a queen or a princess or a prince. Because on state occasions, that means on fancy times, they wear crowns. Now, they have different ones too for different occasions. So this is also called a chenille stick. In the olden days, they were called pipe cleaners, but they're really actually quite different. So this very nice chenille stick is what you take your fork, you go right underneath. These are tines. This is the base of the fork. And then we're going to wrap it around like a scarf until it has, we're going to go another time so the arms are kind of equal. There we go. Now we have arms. The king can salute you. Ta-da! But I didn't say this, I'm so sorry. The ends of the chenille stick are sharp. So what I want you to do is fold them over like that. I'm going to hand this to my studio audience so they can try it out too. Thank you. We don't want it to ever hurt anybody and be sharp. So cool. And now what does our character need? Always a handy dandy Sharpie, because this is plastic and real markers won't stay. So we're going to give it, I think we'll have the face side on the part that sticks out. Doesn't need to be fancy, just a couple of eyes and a nose. I made a capital L. I'm going to hold it close so you can see it. Thank you, thank you. And a mouth. Now, I made a nice smile. Because everyone in our story today has a lovely disposition. What is that big old word, disposition? That means how they act. So I have to move her arms around. That's right, sorry. There she is, one princess. This story has not one, but two princesses. They live far apart. But these aren't what we're going to use today. No. We are going to use others. We also have a very important character that goes bzzz. What is that?
A bee.
A bee! For my studio audience, excellent. So I took a ball, a sponge ball, like that. I put felt on it, stripes. You can see it's little. Right there. And I made it into a bee. Not the letter in the alphabet, but a bee. And this is a little fancy. I will even tell you where I made it. I was traveling and I was in a hotel room and I had all this stuff with me and I made it into a bee. And you know what the bee says?
Bzz.
Yeah, a little more.
Bzz.
Now, I want you to be really careful because some people are allergic to bee stings. So if you are, this one will not hurt you. You can tell honey of a story with this bee. I'm sorry, bad joke. Buzz, buzz, buzz. I'm going to sit the bee. I hope you can see it right here. Ooh, looks too big. There, I'm going to move him back a little bit. Okay, he likes to look at himself. Maybe it's a herself. I haven't decided. She's of course, silly me. See her crown? This is the queen bee. So silly. Oh, and we have one other prop that I will show you later. Okay? And that is some beautiful flowers that my associate made me out of, I think it's called mod clay. So I'm going to show you one. A very important part of the story. Like that? Really cool. You know what? I showed you one. I'll show you two. And they were fun to make, I think. And I found this really cool thing to sit them on so that you can see them out there in video land, Zoom land, YouTube land, and you could even listen to them on podcast land. Can you listen to a flower? You know, bees love flowers, right? It's called pollinating. It's how they live. They go into the flower and they take out the pollen and they go away. Mm-hmm. Going in our story today. So I am not going to get there. I'm just going to get it ready and introduce you to the two princesses who live in different realms. Now, they're just learning to be princesses, studying hard to become queens. So these were made in our studio by my visiting scholar guest. Okay? Artisan. Okay, here she is. We've named her Liza, the Princess Liza. Ta-da! She has beads on her crown. This, if you can see, I want you to see very carefully. This is a fork, or used to be a fork. I don't think we're going to eat out of the Princess Liza anymore. She's waving to you. She's blowing kisses. She can do that with her arms. And she's going to be, let's see, Liza starts with an L. She should be on the left. This is my left. Could be your right, but my left. And this is the other, excuse me, Your Majesty. This is the Princess Nylaram. Ta-da! Nylaram is made of a spoon. And a spoon that I found also in my studio. We found these just sitting around waiting when I did. And you can try this if you have the material. So I put a pipe cleaner in there so that she can bend her arm. I kind of like it either way. And note her beautiful hair. It's made out of a scouring pad. So yeah, she's kind of like a curly haired girl. And she lives on this side of the land. A different realm. So I did not mention this hair was a little bit more complicated. And my visiting artist scholar, she'd spent a lot of time doing that. All right. So our story goes like this. How does it start? Oh, yes, it starts once upon a time. And it's a story about learning and loving and teaching. So let me get into the right sides here. And here we go. I think we'll do Liza. Once upon a time, the Princess Liza was walking in her pasture, and she came across a beautiful flower. Oh, she was about to smell that flower when a bee came along, and she was about to swat that bee, and the bee said, bzz, 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 which means, please don't swat me. I have to take care of all of my family. I am the queen bee. Well, Liza didn't realize the responsibilities that bees have, but she did because she also understood bee talk. And so, of course, she said to the bee, I am so sorry. And the bee said, thank you. I will not forget you. And off the bee went. So that was the way it was. Now, one day, the Princess Nylaram came to visit. Let's get all the flowers up into the garden. There they are. Excellent. Just going. Props. See that? Great. One day, from another sovereignty, another realm, came a visiting princess. Now, both princesses in training believed that they could be the best of all. And so when Nylaram introduced herself to Liza, she said, "How do you do? My name is the Princess Nylaram. I am from the town of Townsend." Townsend? Townsend? I've never heard of Townsend. Oh, Townsend is a faraway country called Illinois. Oh, I've heard of that. Oh, and welcome to my realm. And where am I? I've been sailing forever and a day. Oh, you are in the city of Angelus. Oh, I've heard of that. Do the Angelus live there? Oh, they do. Oh, wow, I'm so glad to be here. But what have you there? Oh, it is my garden. And it is the most beautiful garden ever, said the Princess Liza. Oh, said Nylaram, I have a beautiful garden too. My garden is probably bigger and more beautiful than yours. Really? But you don't know this about my garden. My garden is not real. Not real? Nope, except for one flower. One flower is real? How do you know? Well, I know, because I am the Princess Liza, and I know everything there is to know about flowers and my garden, of course. Well, I am wise too, and I am in training to be the wisest princess of all. Oh, but I'm in training to be the wisest princess of all. But we can't both be the wisest princesses of all. So there must be a contest that we could have. Oh, well, I have an idea. Well, what would that be? Said Nylaram. I think that you should guess which one of my flowers is real. But they all look like they're real, but they aren't. Well, how am I supposed to know which one is real? Said Nylaram. Do you? Well, of course I do. They're my flowers. But in truth, our young princess had spent such a long, hard time with all of her flowers that she had forgotten which one was real. And Nylaram didn't have a clue at all. But neither one wanted to admit it. And they so wanted to be the princess who was the wisest of them all. So Nylaram walked around carefully, looking at all of the flowers. And she could not figure it out. She almost was about to accept one, and then when she got closer, she was afraid, because she only had one guess. So, but our beautiful princess, Liza, didn't know what to do either, because she was so busy being so proud of herself that she forgot which was the real one. And she looked around for some help, and then it came. Nylaram was looking over her shoulder when all of a sudden, out of the sky, came that bee whose life the Princess Liza had saved, and landed right on top of the real flower. Of course, by then, Liza knew exactly what the real flower was. She said, "Why, that is my real flower." Oh, you are wise beyond all belief, said the Princess Nylaram. And Liza realized then what was truly the best gift of all, that she had befriended one of the creatures of the earth, and then in exchange, it had saved her. Not her life, but certainly saved her in many different ways. She became a princess of that realm, but she also made a very, very good friend in the Princess Nylaram. And I happen to know for a fact that they often visited each other, going back and forth from one kingdom to the other, and often gardening in their beautiful gardens. And every once in a while, when one of them wasn't paying attention because they were so busy being friends with each other, a bee would come along and suck up some of the pollen so that her family could live happily ever after. Thank you so much for coming to our story today. We here at the Mentor Project particularly want to thank all the associates that have worked so hard making puppets out of everyday objects, making sure that you out there can watch our shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you can listen to the story and tell it with puppets of your own. We are also on Facebook, on the Mentor Project, and YouTube, of course, forever YouTube. So make a flower. Be careful when you smell it that there are no bees having their lunch. And also remember to thank everyone who helps you. Particularly thank the Kaufman Family Foundation and TriBraining. And one last thing, I want you to live how? Happily ever after. And that, my friends, as I give you a most beautiful gift of a flower for your day, is exactly the truth.